Welcome to the studio here at African Utility Week and PowerGen Africa. Today I'm chatting to Jason Mingo, Project Manager for the Western Cape Government and of course South Africa. Today we'll be talking about smart technology initiatives and partnerships to effectively manage a long-term water strategy. Jason, thank you very, very much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Tell me, what sort of smart technology initiatives and partnerships have you seen that are generating positive results?
Yeah, thanks for the question. I think, fortunately for us, we're involved with a number of different players across the water sector, so from private, community-based organization and NGOs. So we're seeing a number of positive results coming out of those relationships. Now, one of them being our involvement with the Kimberley-Clark Corporation and the development of the Water Loop tool. Now, this Water Loop tool seeks to understand water risk beyond the factory fence, and as a community and set of stakeholders that are impacted by that water risk, for everybody to come together to better understand that risk, and then to start really talking about, okay, what are those solutions to mitigate and address that risk? And out of that, really be able to model those interventions, and then going forward to understand, okay, who are those players going to be, what are those roles going to be in terms of being able to implement the solutions to address the risk. So that's one of the opportunities from a technology perspective, where we're seeing the results of applying big data and modeling systems. And then I think sort of on the softer side, we're seeing community engagement partnerships through initiatives that are funded through Coca-Cola, the Nature Conservancy, and the setup of the Greater Cape Town Water Fund, and our partnership with WWF South Africa, the Worldwide Conservation Fund, in terms of our relationship of promoting water stewardship with this group of farmers across key areas and regions within our water source areas and our critical catchment areas, where we're working with them on the ground to try and promote effective alien clearing and the management of that biomass to ultimately improve the availability of water supply.
Sure, okay, very, very interesting. Now, what do you think are the critical requirements at the moment for a long-term sustainable water strategy on the continent?
I think one of the fundamental things that we have to try and get right within the continent is to try and commit and present a stronger cohesion amongst the various associations that are representative of the water sector. So this calls into the likes of the Water Institute for Southern Africa, WISA, as well as the African Water Association and others that are present on the continent. And to be able to have these institutions and organizations that are representative of the sector working a lot better together when it comes to understanding and sort of present a unified voice when it comes to what does sustainable water management mean over the long term on the continent. And so we're seeing some of the impacts of not having that strategy in place when we consider the advancement of the likes of hydroelectric power. Obviously, energy security is key and fundamental to the continent's growth, but at what cost in terms of water resource availability and the security even of the energy supply, as we've seen lately, more recently in Zimbabwe, with the droughts impacting on the Kariba Dam and the load shedding that is now prevalent in that country because there's no water in the dam to generate that hydropower. And so we ultimately need to also have a conversation around how we shift that focus and look at the alternatives, such as renewable technology alternatives that are showing efficiencies in their outputs and their pricing and their costing. So this really draws into question the understanding of kind of the water energy nexus that we have to get our head around as a body, as a sector, and also try and look to work more closely with the energy sector in some form of a partnership. And I think that's what the benefit of being at Africa Utility Week really tries to start to do, is start to kind of synergizing the efforts between the water and energy as a utility.
Well, that actually brings me, to my final question for you, which is, what can be done to speed up the development and the implementation of these technologies?
And it's a very good question, because it's actually been a key talking point at this year's Africa Utility Week, specifically within the water track agenda. And it's only sought to reaffirm and really highlight that there's a recognition of this major gap within the innovation or commercialization value chain, where post-demonstration towards manufacturing and commercialization, we have a huge gap there between kind of what's happening within the water industry and sector and what is needed from an investable and investment perspective. And so we actually really need to start talking about the solutions and strategies that are ultimately going to fill that gap. And within the Western Cape government, we're quite fortunate in that we've been supporting an initiative called the Water Hub, which has actually recognized this need and this gap, mostly as a result of the drought and the need to try and apply technologies and solutions to the drought. where ultimately we're seeking to accelerate solutions for impact and really be a governance platform to bring together the multitude of different stakeholders to try and advance uptake of technology into the sector.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe to our channel for the latest industry news and content.